every detail matters. Every detail matters. It matters where the air temperature is. It matters how often they're sleeping. It matters what they're eating. It matters what they're being told. Every single aspect matters because it will win that fourth quarter moment that we're all wanting for this program to win. It's that.
Welcome back to the Matthews Mentality Podcast. I'm your host, Kyle Matthews, and today's guest is one of the most innovative, I would say the most innovative mind, I'm biased, in college football, Chad Bowden. Chad was recently named the general manager of USC football. Fight on the Trojans, where he's now leading the charge to build a championship caliber roster in the NIL and Transfer Portal era. He began his career as a student assistant at Cincinnati before quickly making a name for himself as a recruiting powerhouse. At Notre Dame, Chad helped land 4 consecutive top 12 recruiting classes and earn national recognition as the 2024 Football Scoop Player Personnel Director of the Year. Now at USC, he's bringing that same relentless drive, eye for talent, and cutting-edge approach to one of the college football's most iconic program. Today, we're talking about how to spot potential, build winning culture, and lead in a high-pressure environment where every decision matters. Before we dive in, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this episode with anyone and everyone who loves football, leadership, or the Trojans. Zach's always giving me a hard time because I'm not doing that enough. But Chad, I really appreciate you coming on the show.
I appreciate you having me.
How's it going so far?
It's been great.
Yeah?
It's been great. It's been, it's been a little bit of a different experience moving, obviously, from South Bend, Indiana to Los Angeles, California, but it's been unbelievable.
Slight upgrade in the weather, of course, right?
Incredible upgrade.
Yeah. Now, how would you describe your business? Is it sports management? Is that a fair kind of way to?
Yeah, I would say it's sports management. I think there's a couple different, things that you could say. It's a sports administration in some aspects.
Okay.
But it's a good combo. I actually got my sports administration degree from the University of Cincinnati. But it's probably a little bit of a mix, just when dealing, from a structure standpoint and kind of looking at every avenue of a program.
And the reason I ask that is because roughly 10 years you've been in that business.
Yep.
Fair to say.
Yep.
When you got in, I mean, even up until a couple of years ago, the position, the title of general manager of a college football team didn't exist.
That's right.
And so when did you become aware, your eyes open, like, hey, this might actually be a position or a destination I can end up in?
I think it was how much the NCAA and roster building was evolving when you were able to, take a certain amount of numbers as far as scholarships and, mid-years and, now that there was a transfer portal and managing compliance and managing the team and kind of looking over the whole roster. Then NIL got introduced. So many things were being affected that really it's a full-time.
Yeah.
It needs a full-time person to oversee the whole thing. And it kind of got out of the hands of just truly, hey, we're going to recruit these kids. We're all going to evaluate these kids. And the head coach could just kind of oversee that.
Yeah. And other than the scholar side, the school side, there really wasn't much more to it than other than developing the player.
That's right.
Right.
That's right.
And so you're the first general manager in USC history.
I think I'm second.
Really?
I think I'm second. Dave Emmerich was the first GM in USC history, and he's now our chief of staff.
That's right.
And he's a phenomenal human. He's doing a really, really good job.
And so
first in Notre Dame history.
First in Notre Dame history.
Yeah,
there you go.
First in Notre Dame history. Yep.
And so, what is a day in the life of a general manager?
It's forever evolving. It could be, evaluating. It could be recruiting. It could be NIL. It could be, dealing with agents. It could be dealing with, the current staff. It could be dealing with scheduling. It could be dealing with, how we see things as a football program, in other areas and avenues like strength, nutrition. There's other avenues of this that matter when you bring in a kid, and it all has to align. And if one avenue isn't aligned when you bring in these kids, you can go and evaluate and recruit and have great recruiting classes, but these are still 18-year-old kids. So if you don't have a vision for them while they're here, whether that's nutrition and strength, that's where it really takes off. And culture and player development and bringing in the right kids that appreciate this place, what the degree can do for them, all of those things, that's how you have a better retention. That's how you have kids that want to be here to win and represent USC. That's how you can really build a program.
Were you,
And go
you,
ahead.
you
Go ahead.
touched on something. I was going to get to it later, but I'll just dive in. Is life after football, and a lot of people. It's what I was here on campus yesterday doing some things,
Yeah.
but talking about life after football. And so I think a lot of people hear that and they're like, oh, so that's like if you don't make the NFL, like me, right? It's like my life after football was at 22, and so you look at the statistics, and I don't know, 95+%, higher, or maybe at SC it might be a little low, but higher. 99% of D1 football players won't make a living in the NFL, even if they make a couple years, but they won't be able to never work again. Go ahead.
Yeah, I will tell kids, I have a meeting with these kids, and I will literally draw up on a whiteboard, I'll ask how old they are, and most of them will tell me 17, 18, something like that. And I'll let them know that only 1% of high school football players get the opportunity to play Division I college football. Now, there's a certain percentage that make it 1%. Now, I don't need to expand upon that, but 1% get that opportunity, and they're going to do it. And then out of the 1%, only 2% get to play in the NFL. And then out of the 2%, right? So you have to be within the 1%. They're
Yeah.
going to do that. Then you have to be within the 2%.
Yeah, I wasn't in the 2%.
And that's so hard.
Yeah.
And it's crazy you're even within the 1%.
Yeah.
So now you have to be within the 2%. And then to get to the NFL, the average NFL life expectancy is 2.7 years. And by position, some are even like 1.8.
Yeah. I mean,
So what are you going to do for the rest of your life when you're 23 or 24 years old? And that's what USC does better than anybody else in the country. The
Yeah.
connections, the network, the people. We have more resources, more people, more connections, the biggest network in the world. And we have such a great opportunity to tell these young people about it. So when they come here, it's for the right reasons.
no, it's a real thing. And when I was graduating SC, that's how I got into real estate, was through the network. Right? It wasn't a degree I took. I wish it was. It would have helped me my first couple of years. I didn't have a lot of real estate skills. I didn't do the real estate finance program. I don't even know if they had it at the time, but it was through the SC network that I got those interviews. And I would like to say I earned the opportunity that I was given. But the foot in the door thing, that was all SC. And so even now, whenever you guys reach out, I always look to make time and give guidance, or even an interview to Trojans. We hire a lot of Trojans every year, and certainly the players, I give special treatment in the sense like, hey, here's my cell, text me if you need anything. But that's a real thing. And where I was going with life after football is like, again,
You're in my presentation, by the way.
am I?
Yeah, you are.
Oh, that's
part of
cool.
it.
Cool. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's awesome. But I'm 22. That's my life after football. You look at one of my brothers, it was 30. He played in the league 5-6 years. You look at another brother, I don't know how old he was when he stopped playing, but he played for 11, 12 years. But everyone at some point will have life after football.
That's right.
And by having that connection and having that degree, it really sets you up to stay busy and stay active. We were talking offline about complacency and idle hands. Like, it's not a good place to be, whether again,
right.
22, 32, 42. And USC is a special place in turn. It's like a gang, man. It's like a tribe. Like, it's a real thing.
Yeah, I'm well aware.
Yeah. And it's not just something that's spoken about. I lived it firsthand. I benefited from it when I came out of school, and I look to give back. And it's like it's not a cult, but it's like a tribe. It's a gang. And it's a real thing. And it's one of the best things I love about this school, outside of my experience on the team when I was here. And I mean that's
and you and your story, and your brothers played they played in the NFL, and
Yep.
these kids I recruit, every single kid wants to hear that.
Yeah.
But that's not the reality for everybody. And what you're doing right now is still needs to be these kids' dreams.
Yeah.
Because every avenue for every kid and every human being is different. And they need to know they can reach their full potential in other areas as well, other than just football.
Speaking of potential, when you and the coaching staff, so you might be speaking on behalf of the coaching staff here, like, what do you look for outside of, let me reframe this question. there's the measurables. What is the 40? What is the strength, the speed, the eyeball? And like,
Yeah.
I think most people would agree, there's certain players that look like they can play.
Yep.
But have you had success in identifying the mentality side? This is a podcast where we talk about mentalities and mindsets. And there's been so many players, they look the part, but then you
They
get
got
them and you're
head
just like,
turners.
oh gosh, how, if, have you had, how do you identify the players who don't just have the measurables? I think that's like a qualifier to get into a USC football program, but have the mindset where they're actually the mental toughness to push themselves to be better, to not transfer the second things get hard, to not to fall apart in the fourth quarter, whatever it is. Like, do you have, a way to kind of vet those people?
Yeah. So we have a weekly recruiting process that allows us to communicate with these kids every single week. And it goes on for a very long time because our evaluation system is it's put in place early. So you're really getting to learn who these kids truly are. Obviously, you're going to talk to their parents. You're going to see how they're raised. You're going to talk to their coaches. You're going to watch game tape. I'm huge in not highlights, but game tape,
Mm.
because you can see like, hey, when a teammate scores a touchdown, do they run to the end zone to celebrate with their teammate, or do they just turn and run to the sideline? When the ball's 40 yards away and it's, they're on the far hash, are they turning and running, or are they just walking? There are things that you can identify to see who the human being is, including asking them tough questions, or in the recruiting process saying, hey, I don't know if you're going to play in year one. Every kid wants to hear that. You might not play. Everybody's past different. You might be playing here year 3, year 4. So I want you to know that you're coming here for the right reasons. You're coming here for the degree. When you're that upfront with those kids and they feel that from you, then those kids that do come, they're not going to want to leave because the way you told them on the front end what it is we're looking to bring you in for.
Yeah, they appreciate the honesty, the candor, and also the management of expectations.
Yes.
Like my brother Clay is a great example. Probably too long into his career, but he didn't start until the 4th game of his 5th year, and then he had a good 8 games and was a first-round draft pick. And then
Unbelievable.
obviously a great career. But yeah, it seems to be maybe a little shift in the culture of like. At least when I came in, there was just an expectation. A freshman playing was rare, and most of you were redshirted, and you generally understood the benefit is the physical development, the mental development, all this the scholar side of like it gives you a year to kind of acclimate to college, because I needed that for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, that seems to be something that is difficult to navigate. Now, let me take a couple steps back in time. I want to focus on you. Your dad was in the same business, like,
Yeah.
on the baseball side. Was this something that you always knew you wanted to do?
I knew I always wanted to get into football and not baseball.
Why?
When you're around it so much and you're around that when you're around that day to day of a professional organization and you grow up in that, and that's all you see, and my dad was very hard on me in those moments, whether it was watching tape, understanding body movements, understanding organization, understanding money. Like there was a lot of things that I was being brought up into, but my dad was very hard on me about it.
When you say hard on you, like he was like drilling you on it and testing you?
Drilling.
Oh, wow.
Drilling, but also in a way of making it fun.
Yeah.
And what ended up happening is I had one of my best friends was a water boy. I'm very proud of this. Was a water boy at Anderson High School. And, baseball, I loved it, but it was also kind of like my dad's love.
Sure.
So that's how we connected. I went and watched the team camaraderie, one practice, Anderson High School in Cincinnati, Ohio. One practice.
The football team
of a group of kids coming together, all having to do their jobs. You know what I mean? I hadn't played football yet, but they were all coming together, only recess, you know what I mean? 5th grade, whatever, coming together as a team. And I loved it. And I became a water boy. And then next thing you know, like I didn't want to leave practices because I want to understand what was going on.
Yeah,
so it was something new and
instant,
fun.
like passion for it.
Instant. It was just like, oh my gosh. And I'm proud. I was like a water boy. Then I became the next year an EQ guy. And then the next year I became a towel boy,
Yeah.
during the games. Like that meant a lot
Some
to
high
me.
quality H2O.
That
Man.
high quality H2O. But I was just so every
You're
part
into
of
it.
it.
Yeah.
Like I didn't want to leave.
You had a love for it.
I had a love for it. I just when like my parents would come pick me up, they would just sit out there because I didn't want to leave. I didn't want to leave until the team was gone. Like the fun times in the locker room or the coaches were watching film. Like even that experience, it just drove me to this place where it's like, I gotta be a part of this.
That's what you miss the most in a traditional business. And I don't want to, not to call Matthews like a corporate, right? I don't like the word, but is trying to recreate that locker room, that camaraderie. And that's for me. And I talked to a lot of my ex-teammates, family members, is like, what do you miss the most about, in this case, football, could be other sports. I don't know. I can't speak to that, but you miss hitting the big shot or scoring the big touchdown, making the big play. Like, yeah, it certainly is a great moment, but man, I miss the locker room.
You miss your brothers.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. And that's probably, it sounds like what you felt maybe for the first time. And again, not to, I love going to a good baseball game, but yeah, baseball didn't necessarily speak to me because in any one play of baseball, there's a pitcher, there's a catcher, there's a hitter hits it to second and he throws it to first. Like that's 4 people.
Yep.
But then there's 7 people who aren't involved.
That's right.
11 people on defense or offense in football. Every single person is not only involved respectfully on almost any given play. If just one of them doesn't do what they're supposed to do, the play has a very high probability of not being productive.
That's right.
Right. And that's
exactly
again,
right.
I'm very biased towards football, but that's the magic of football. All right. And so did you ever say, hey, I'm going to go out and play, or you always stayed on the sideline part of it?
So I did play. I didn't play college football. There's a whole other story to that.
You played some high school football.
Played high school football, played middle school football, played high school football. Absolutely loved it. Proud of it. Was state champion, 3-time state champion.
Did you wear your ring around?
You know what I mean? No, hey, I'm very proud of it. We still have those group chats today.
That's cool.
And I think we won. I think it was like 26 straight games and played linebacker and
because you're a pretty big guy.
I'd say it's the dad bod.
Yeah.
Not a dad yet, but I'm working on it.
That's why I wear black. It's swimming. I got 4 kids. The struggle's real.
Yeah, no doubt.
But it's just when that like, quarter of the bowl of mac and cheese left, you're like, I don't want to throw this out. That'd be wasteful.
You have to eat it.
You got to eat it. That's what's right. I mean, like this is science. Like,
absolutely.
There's science behind it.
Yep.
But all right. So then you went to Cincinnati. Is that where you went to school?
Yeah. Went to the University of Cincinnati. So I played in high school and then immediately I was 18 years old, moved out to LA. Moved out to Century City.
You want to be a famous actor or something?
Wanted to be a sports agent.
Oh.
Yeah. And so worked for.
What year was this?
This was, I think it was 12. I worked for MVP Sports Group, and the guy that runs that company, the sports agency, is a guy named Danny Lozano, who is a USC alum. And he represented Albert Pujols, Alex Rodriguez, Jimmy Rollins, Aaron Nola, and that was baseball. It was the baseball side.
Yeah.
So at that very moment, it was, I want to be Jerry Maguire.
Sure.
At that moment.
We had David Dunn. David's a family friend. It was the only time I've ever involved myself in my brother's business. He was coming out of college for the draft, and my dad played football, everyone in my family. So I'm the only one with like business experience, right?
Yeah.
So he's like, hey, can you help, kind of vet agents? So we interviewed 4 or 5 and settled on or made the decision on athletes first, David Dunn. It was a great decision. He did an incredible job. Him and that company ended up going on to represent all the Matthews. My dad's agent was Marvin Demoff, who, if you know Kevin, Kevin's, I think, is he a GM of the Rams? Kevin Demoff of the LA Rams? No, that's Snead. Kevin's, Snead. Gosh, Kevin's the assistant GM or something like that.
Okay.
But
Les Snead's son works for us here.
Logan. Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. He works for us in the front office.
Yeah, see, it's all
recruiting analyst.
Connected. But there was a moment where it's like, oh, maybe I should be a sport. But it's a different job.
Different gig. And I didn't know.
Yeah.
I thought it was Jerry Maguire.
Jerry Maguire. Yeah.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
And then you got into it. And I was a little bit like, okay, I don't know if this really is. They did a great job.
Yeah.
Taking care of
what was it
players,
about the job that maybe the kind of, I don't know what you can share, but what was it where you're like, oof, I don't know if this is what I thought I was signing up for?
Keep in mind, I was an 18-year-old kid. So
in LA,
being in LA, I don't think I was ready for it. And I think I learned a lot of what I didn't know.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I had a lot of answers back then and was humbled. So it was great. And then I realized that this really wasn't what I was passionate about. You know, and then I ended up working the best job that I did that really changed my entire life. I worked for a company called Link Tech.
What
And that was in Beverly Hills on Wilshire Boulevard.
Link Tech?
Yep.
What'd they do?
It was selling Google ads for real estate agents. So I was the telemarketer that called you and said, hey, buy this. I'll put you on the first page of Google, homes for sales.
So you're
in
cold
Los
calling.
Angeles. I was cold calling.
Yeah, let's go.
On the dialer. And it was the greatest experience of my life. And I had to get one or two. And that was the job. And if not, they fired you. And it was quick. And it was the constant grind of every single day going in there, knowing that that's what was going to happen. And I ended up, it changed my life.
Yeah.
It changed the way I talked to people. It changed everything because you could tell me no, and I would try to find a way, no matter what, to tell you why you should. And it changed my life, and it changed me in this profession because everybody wants to tell you no or why not or whatever. And I can tell you why better than anywhere.
This is great. I'm gonna clip this and show it to the Matthews agents because cold calling is how we hire 150, 200 people a year, often out of college, but new to the business. Yep. And you come in, you don't know real estate owners. And so how do you generate business is cold calling. And
have to.
As much as we tell them in the interview process and we have a shadow a day, it's like, you understand, like the first 3, 4, 5 years of their life is heavy prospecting. Now, 400 a day, we do 100 a day is where they start off. And as their business grows, it winds down.
That's back when the auto dialer was
I was going to say the auto dialer.
The auto dialer was still going.
Yeah. I can geek out about this. It's 100 calls to reach 20 people a day. Yep. 20 people a day. Generally, you talk to 100 people, conversations. And conversation is just like, did you say, hey, is Chad there? Hey, this is him. Like, then you had him. And if you lost him right after that, it's because your interest generator wasn't good enough, your credibility builder. Like, we have a whole step. Yeah. So it's, interest generator, credibility. It's
how many phases do you guys have?
We have 7.
Had 3.
Yeah, we have 7. So there's it's introduction, credibility building. Hey, this is Kyle Matthews. I'm a vice president. I've sold this much real estate. I'm calling about this building. So they're like, okay, you're a real person. And then there's an interest generator, which is, hey, are you aware that a building on your street was just put on the market or just traded or a lease was just signed or there's a debt product, which is something like, oh, I'm interested. I'm not going to hang up. And then it's ask open-ended questions, listen for window to opportunity, conditionally close for the meeting. Like, there's a whole flow.
Got it. So ours was 3. One was like the intro. Hey, this is Chad Bowden with Link Tech Worldwide. How are you doing today?
Yeah.
And then if they engage, because a lot of them will go click.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And if they engaged, hey, what's going on? And then you would go into a sales pitch of basically, hey, we track that 590 buyers and sellers each month are searching homes for sale in Los Angeles on Google.com. We want to place you first so these people have the right agent to get a hold of. And you would go into that whole pitch, which is basically your meat.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Your bread, your meat, and then you finish it. And then you would close. Now, the difference of the close was, it'll be $99 each month, but today it's only going to be $20. And then you would basically wait for them.
Get them hooked.
And then, that was it. We never called back. So it was a 1-call close. So you go right into, that's a MasterCard that'll start with a 5.
We might have bought some ad space. So it was like 2013 to 2015. It was as I was leading up to starting Matthews in 2015. We started buying Google AdWords for, like, if somebody Googled invest in commercial real estate, right? If somebody Googled, like, there's different types of commercial real estate, like triple net property. There would be the articles, but at the top would say like Matthews.
So I never got promoted
to the commercial side,
which
it worked out for you.
It worked out for me.
All right. So you hear that, audience?
Not well enough.
The best thing you could ever do is at some point in your career to develop the ultimate skills. By the way, going into a bar, going to interview for a job, for a promotion, cold calling will teach you more from a skill point across all industries that will benefit you than, I swear to God, anything else.
That's right. 100%. Best job I ever had.
Until now.
So
Link Tech, how long were you there for?
A year, 2.
And then you said, okay, I'm going to go
I got
Do
a
what?
call from Evan Dreyer, who was a head coach at Western Brown at the time, a Division III Ohio school. And he called me and he asked me to go over Steeler 4, which was a 3-4 quarters, system that we had ran in high school. Very simple. And there's hot coverage, which is 2 under 3 deep that we ran out of it. And then it was based on formation, and it just made the players play fast. There was a one concept that involved in it. And it was just something we did in high school that just worked. And we won 3 state championships, basically running 3 plays off of whatever the team gave us.
On defense.
Because high school, it's a lot easier.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, I got on the call with him and I talked about every position. And he said, man, what are you doing? Like, why are you out in LA doing this business stuff? Like, you should be in football. That's what you love. Like, what are you doing? Like, and he told me, you don't have to make money to be happy in this world. I have a daughter, I have a wife, I'm the head coach here, and I'm the happiest guy in the world. And I'm sitting there going, oof, gosh, that just hit me.
Yeah, he hit you.
Because all I could think about is, man, I really want to be in football. And he said, come to Western Brown, be my defensive coordinator, and let's do this thing. And I remember sitting there being like, whew, slept that night, called back in the morning, said, I'm coming to Western Brown, Mount Orab, Ohio. Here we go. So went to Mount Orab, showed up, and went right to work. And then was there for 3 months. And then we quickly moved to Oak Hills High School in Cincinnati, Ohio, which is a Division I school, where I was just a linebackers coach because I was too young at the time for a Division I Ohio school. Then did an internship at the Miami Dolphins. And then they basically got me hooked up at the University of Cincinnati as I was going there for school. And Luke Fickle had just taken the job, Marcus Freeman, Brian Mason, who's now the special teams coordinator of the Colts, got me hooked up and all that. And
that was your big break in college, right?
Yes.
And so how long were you at Cincinnati?
4 years.
Yep, yeah. And again, forgive me. Luke had done a pretty good job there, right? I mean,
Coach Fickle?
Yeah.
He was unbelievable.
Yeah.
He was unbelievable. What he did at that program, I am forever grateful for Luke Fickle.
What were some of the biggest lessons in leadership that maybe you apply to your career now that you learned from Coach Fickle?
Everyone needs a reminder.
Yeah.
And every day is important. Culture. And, Luke really installed that into me. There's a lot of sayings, that together everyone achieves more. There's a lot of things that, you take everything from everyone, right? Like but he, he really helped me in my career. Wouldn't be here without him, and he really set up, my values, I think, in this profession. And I think he set up that place, the culture. He did such a great job of understanding the place and then recruiting to that place and creating a culture around that place. Because every place is different. The way that you're going to recruit, the way that you're going to coach, the way that you're going to program build, the way that you're going to do programming in the weight room, the way that you're going to do nutrition, the way that you're going to do everything.
Your value proposition's different.
Everything.
Yeah.
Everything's different, but it has to be about the place. Like no matter what, USC is going to be here with or without me. And I just want to do what's best for USC, and I want to enhance USC by understanding it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the only way to make a business and go better is by understanding it, looking at what's been done in the past, and then just trying to enhance it. And that's all I'm here to do.
Well, we'll talk about SC,
yeah.
And I could give you my thoughts on that. But there's a little stop in between at this little school called Notre Dame, right?
Uh-huh.
Okay, so
gotta avoid that one.
No, I know. Look, I gotta walk a lot. My wife, Irish Catholic, my kid's Catholic, so
okay.
My wife, song girl at USC, so big Trojan. But like,
gotcha.
Sometimes I question, like, she's like, well, I could see the kids going to Notre Dame. I was like, what? So
we don't want to hear that. Let me get in your home.
Yeah,
I'll recruit. I'll recruit.
All right, fair enough.
We'll get it right.
So But so that probably connected to Marcus Freeman, right? You guys
Yeah.
were at Cincinnati together.
Yes.
He gets hired to be, is it the D coordinator or?
Yes, defensive coordinator at Notre Dame.
And was that ultimately, simply put, part of the decision for you to go there?
Yeah, that was the hardest decision of my entire life.
Or was it because you had to effectively reject Coach Fickle?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was and I didn't handle it well either. When I left Coach Freeman to come here, I knew how to handle it the right way,
Yeah.
which was always the hardest thing because I view him as a big brother, a best friend. I do. He was in my wedding.
Coach Freeman?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was in my wedding. I love him. But I knew at some point we weren't always going to be together.
Again, not with the media. So that's different. I mean, that's just a whole nother level of intensity to
Sure.
leaving a job for another job. That's the most simply way to put it. I've been on both ends. I've left companies to go to another company. I left a company to start my own. So, and then on the other side, Matthew's 1,000 people every day, every week, every month, less so directly to me anymore. Now it's more, I hear like, oh, Joe or Susie left. And you're like, bummer. But, you touched on, hey, I wish I could do it differently. What advice would you have for professionals in any industry, a very traditional business industry or football or anything in between? When they're pursuing their dreams, oftentimes there's an opportunity, at least on the surface, that opens up where it looks like that's the right move in their career. In your experience and looking back and what you learned, what advice would you have on how best to handle that so they don't necessarily have the regret you have or had when it comes to telling someone they care tremendously about? And it sounds like Coach Fickle, like you really look up to him. You're like, man, he gave me this opportunity that made such a difference, but there still is this rejection moment where you're like, I have to leave because I think this is better. What advice would you have for the audience?
Keep it short and simple. Don't talk about the other place. Don't loop other people in, and keep it short and simple and respectful. That's the best way to handle it. And even in your next place, do the best you can to try to appreciate what had been done with, with the people you've been around, and because a lot of things we did at my previous place was very successful. And it wasn't just one person. It was all of us coming together as one, just like any successful business.
Mhm.
It's not one person. It's everybody coming together as one and working together for that common goal and challenging everything every day. Because this thing, what we're in, college football, college athletics, it changes every day. And if you're not challenging the norm and if you're not trying to get better, you're never, as a program, gonna reach the mountain. You're never gonna get there. The climb is the everyday struggle. It's the inner battle.
All right. So what has been the biggest surprise thus far since you've been out in Los Angeles at SC? Relative to what you're expecting, like what you thought you were getting into, good and bad. Maybe give us one of both.
How close this place really is.
Mhm.
So you go out there on the field. You're watching Notre Dame warm up and Ohio State warm up. You're in the national championship. You're in Atlanta. It's a big moment, right? There's also other big moments, Georgia, Penn State, but you're seeing these teams and you see their roster and you see the talent, right?
The bodies.
So, you take this job and you're like, man, I'm going to make this big impact. I can recruit really well and identify really well and really good evaluator. And then you go out there and you realize really great players. This team's just as talented as any team in the country, any team that I saw in the Sugar Bowl, Orange Bowl, or national championship or playoff. And you're like, oh man, it's right there.
Yeah.
And so it's not bad, and I think Coach Riley's done such an unbelievable job of getting the roster to where it is right now.
If you don't mind, let me jump in
Yeah.
and credit to Coach Riley. I came out here. They had me out, and I walked out to practice yesterday. I hadn't been back out here, and I've been to the school to do some talks, but I hadn't come to practice. I live in Nashville. It's not always convenient. And there were there are some bodies out there. Like it
Yep.
looked like there are NFL bodies
Yep.
at every position.
That's right.
The D line. I was upstairs in this building, and they walked by. I was like, good God,
It's
like,
unbelievable. And
so the talent is there. Like
That's
the
right.
NFL coaching talent is here. And then it's just putting
Absolutely.
it together. And you look at, again, I'm so biased and I'm a fan at this point. Like our record doesn't reflect. I mean, it's just the last 5 minutes of game, and that's why they play the game. We got to solve for that. But
That's right.
they weren't, but they could have been
10 and
11-2.
2,
Yeah,
11 and
11-2,
1,
whatever. Yeah.
easily.
And so that's what they have to solve for. But I feel after watching practice yesterday, I called my wife last night. I was like, SC's back.
It's back.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm so excited about is, we just there's little things, and it's not gonna obviously it's not just one part. It's everybody coming together to realize how close it is and identifying ways. Because I'm telling you, it's crazy, but all it takes is everybody showing up to Breakfast Club on time
Mhm.
for us to reach the playoffs. And the kids got to know that. The littlest details, how we handle academics, how we're sleeping, how we're eating, how we're training on the field. Are we running off to the sideline? Every part of this program and every aspect of the kid's life has to be in place for us to get to the mountain.
Yeah, everything matters.
Everything matters.
I was looking at my notes to Coach Fickle. Every day is important, right?
Yep.
It's yeah. We my sophomore year we were like 1-4, and we were in every game, and we'd lose at the end. And Coach Carroll gave us a talk. He's like, guys, something's going to click. Something's going to happen where we're going to get late in the game. It's going to be close, and all of a sudden you're going to say, look, we don't have to lose anymore. Like actually, and it will switch. And I went to his class last night. It was really cool. He's teaching a class, so I crashed it, and he was just saying like, at the top of his win forever pyramid was like
Yep.
mindset of like, you are going to win, and getting them to buy in that when in a conference as tough as the Big Ten, there almost every game's in the second half, there's going to be a moment, and just getting them to be like, no, we're going to win. And that was really the superpower at SC. We had incredible talent. Don't get me wrong. When I was here,
It was the belief that no matter what the score was in the first quarter, you could be down 14, you were going to win the game.
which by the way, if you actually look at the tape, we were usually down 14. Like, I don't know what it was. I know what it was. Teams would be like, this is SC. They'd come out on fire. This was their Super Bowl.
Start fast.
Half the games we were down at half. And then we were allowed, it was just like,
Well, we're very close to it. And,
Yeah.
and to go back to what you asked, that was kind of, I think, the pleasant surprise is being out there going, man, because you just want to tell every kid we're that close,
Yeah.
and trust me, we are. And, I know it. I know it. I know it because I saw it. And we all have to come together to get it right. Every single person in this program, even the janitors, Can I tell you the best thing I've done since I've been here? And
Yeah.
I mean this. We now have Charmin Ultra Soft. Now listen, because it affects the day now,
Yeah,
Billy.
you're itching,
You're itching, you're scratching, you're
can't pay
moving around,
attention
you
in
can't pay
team
attention.
meetings because you're like this.
But every detail matters. Every detail matters. It matters where the air temperature is. It matters how often they're sleeping. It matters what they're eating. It matters what they're being told. Every single aspect matters because it will win that fourth quarter moment that we're all wanting for this program to win. It's that.
In addition to everything matters, right? All the way down to the Charmin toilet paper, extra soft toilet paper. Ultra soft. Man, now you're in my head. Like now I'm gonna go home like, babe, do we have ultra soft? Like, because this might be affecting me. Everything matters. In addition to everything mattering, what has been the common characteristic or trait of players that you've overseen and coaches you've worked with of the highest achievers, the highest achieving players, the highest achieving coaches? And then I'm going to ask that question in reverse. Like, what seems to be the common theme or trait or characteristic of the players that just never reach their potential, the coaches that don't win the way they want to?
There is a player that I was around. I'm not going to give his name, but he's the most talented individual, most talented player, most talented football player I've ever been around in my career. And it wasn't even close. And he never played in the NFL. And, it was not sleeping before games. It was not being on time to class. It was not handling the media the right way. It was not treating women with respect. It was not cleaning up the locker room because the locker room is a sacred place. Um, it was not taking care of life. And there's a lot of kids that are like that. And they just need people to oversee them every single week. And there be a plan within the staff to making sure that, we're making sure these kids are living by a standard. And the kids that are really elite, those are the kids that are on time. They love football. They take care of business in the classroom. They take care of business.
I've been very blessed in terms professionally and athletically, not in the NFL, but to win a national championship at SC, and all of those are amazing things, and I'm really grateful for everything. But winning a game you're not supposed to win in 8th grade against a team that might be more talented, and then seeing the satisfaction on the faces of the young men
That's right.
that I coach, and they won because they worked hard,
They believed.
and to your point, they were disciplined. And they weren't just disciplined that day, they were disciplined in the
Practice.
12 months leading up to that, in the off season, and the training and the footwork. And, I always say it at my work. I said, I'll always match your level of commitment. So if you're kind of committed, I'm gonna be kind of committed to you.
Yep.
But if you're all the way committed, like, you'll never have to ask me to do more. Like, I will meet you there in the rate in the 50. And that's really a special thing. So I understand that.
Keep in mind, this is the greatest opportunity of my life, and I'm not going to mess it up.
No.
So I'm not wasting this one.
Mhm.
This is the opportunity I've been waiting for my entire life, and it's going to work.
All right. Last question. Speaking of the opportunity, um, if there's a dad, a mom of a recruit out there listening, like, what is USC's value proposition? Why do they come here?
You come here because of the degree, the network, the connections, the fact that this place has resources. And to me, resources are people. And it has a large amount. It's a gang, it's a cult, it's whatever, a Trojan tribe, and whatever you want to call it. It has the most powerful people in the world that will be dedicated to your son, for him to win not only 4 years, while he's here, but for the rest of his life. And that's what we want for young people. And I know that's what they want for their son. And we're going to take the best care of them, to discipline them, to create structure, to help them while they're here. So, when things are, really hard for them in life, they're prepared. And the type of jobs that they're going to be able to acquire because of our network and connections will be better than anywhere else in the country. And it won't even be close. And, there's a reason why we have, the most billionaires in Division I college football, right? Our alums we have the most billionaires. We have the largest market in the world. We have all these connections and jobs, and we tie them already with our players, and we're creating more systems to doing that right now as we speak, which you'll find out even more so as time kind of goes on. There are things that we have for our student athletes that are far better than anywhere else in the country. And on top of that, they're going to get coached, and they're going to get coached by the best coaches in the country. They're going to get to play for arguably one of the best human beings in the country in Lincoln Riley, in this profession. And they're going to have an opportunity to be a part of a family that's going to pick these kids up when they're down, that is going to hold them accountable just as they would when they're at home with you. And if they choose this place and they choose the place to be, which is USC, they will get a group of people that will care for them like family, that will love them, that will tell them the hard truth. And we're going to be there for them no matter what, to the end.
It's great. I asked you that question because your opinion on that is much more important than mine, and that was really well said. I lived in LA most of my life, but I moved to SEC country like 5-6 years ago, so I'm always out there rocking SC gear and people, chirping. And so I've had time to develop my answer to the question, like SC, like, man, you get like telling kids that you should look at SC, and how I view USC is it has everything. And everybody assigns different levels of importance to what are those things or that thing that they value. A lot of people are like, I want to be developed and go to the league. You're like, oh, SC's got that. They got the most draft picks in history. I may 1 or 2 in history. Most first round picks, 1 or 2 in history. Most Heisman's, most Pro Bowlers, most Hall of Famers. Okay, so if you want to be developed, like you go there. Check. I want a great degree. I want to play Power 5, but I want to be at a top 25 institution. You're like, oh yeah, they got that too. Because I'll talk to SEC. I was like, that's not really what you got. You guys develop players. SC does that too.
You're not getting it. You're not
going to get the education. So it's got that. It's like, well, I want to make hundreds of millions.
Big Ten.
And the Big Ten. Yeah. I want to make hundreds of millions of dollars as a player. And then I want to become a billionaire. I want to be a business mogul. You're like, yeah, SC billionaire, the connections, the network, the Trojan fam, the Trojan gang.
Princeton, Harvard, USC.
I was going to say the only other schools that can offer that are, they're in the Northeast at the Ivies.
We compete with Ivy League schools.
Yeah. And then there's, those are the big ones. And then there's the subsets like, oh, I want nice weather. I want tradition. You're like, check. And so if you do a T-chart and like process elimination, like what are the 10 most important things to me as a 17, 18-year-old football player recruit and their parents, which, you probably realize you got to sell them almost more than the player. It's
That's
like,
right.
However 1 through 10, whatever you put is 1, 2, all the way to 10, we literally check every box. And I don't know of another school, there isn't one that can do that.
Yep.
There are schools that develop players to the league, just like SC, but they don't have the rest. And then there's schools that are great schools, but they don't develop the talent to the league. And there's schools that don't have the alumni. SC has everyone. So
and we have the most important piece to it all. People.
Great people.
We have the best people.
Oh, I want to be developed, not just go to the league. I want to be developed by NFL caliber coaches, man. I was just up in the coaching staff. I was just seeing, it was Danton Lynn and then Rob Ryan. And I was just like, man, what's happening?
It's
dude?
unbelievable.
Yeah.
I pinch myself sometimes. Like
yeah.
You're
what? 10 miles as the crow's flies from the culture and influence capital of the world, not just the U.S. The U.S. drives a lot of that,
right.
But in Los Angeles, you got Hollywood and CAA and all of that. So yeah, man, if you're listening, SC's the place to be. Chad, I can't thank you enough. This has been great. I really appreciate you taking the time. I know it's a busy time of the year. I saw all those recruits out at practice the other day, and they're like 17 and they're bigger, faster, stronger than I'm like, I was like,
are they feeding these kids nowadays?
No, it's just like business. Everything's becoming more perfected of a market.
Yep.
And, they're just, you touched on nutrition like 10 times in this conversation. Like, man, I kicked myself. And it was a different time, but I always worked out the way they told me. I always watch the film and then I'd practice and I'd go in and they served pizza. They had an ice cream vending machine here. I had a bad soda passion. Like I was just crushing Pepsi and that was just how it was.
Maybe we need to look back at that.
Yeah.
Pretty sure you won a national championship, didn't you?
Yes, but I think that's only because all the other teams we were playing probably were getting fed the same food. But or maybe they say a little size around the midsection's injury protection. So there might be some science there, but I'll let you be the judge of that. Chad, I can't thank you enough. I mean it, myself, my family, everybody's rooting for you, and anything we can do to help you, let us know. But thanks again for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
Appreciate you. Fight on.
Fight on.